Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. Thank you very much for joining. Very happy to see. Here we have with us Anjali Karnani, Sandra, we have Dipti Adnani, we have Disha Jadwani, Disha Melwani, Divya, we have Jagriti, then we have Karuna Jadwani, we have Lavanya, then we have Bhumika, Manju, Meena Bharwani, then we have N.C. Venkatchari, Auntie Nita, Neha Chatlani, then we have Nisha, my parents are there, Ranjit Das, Ritu Lalwani, Saket, Shri Harirada Mataji, we have Usha, Varsha Mayani. Okay. So what did we see in the previous class? We finished chapter number 3. We finished chapter number 3. What is the title of chapter 3?
Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga. Very nice. So in the last section of chapter 3, we saw Arjuna asking a question. His question is, what is it that forces us to perform sinful activities even though one does not desire to do so? So Krishna's answer was?
Lust.
Lust. Yes, very nice. And then Krishna goes on to explain where does lust reside, how we can fight lust, isn't it? And then he ended on the note. And Krishna also spoke about how lust covers knowledge, how even the most knowledgeable people, even the jnanis, they can be affected by this lust. So lust completely covers one's knowledge, covers one's intelligence, covers one's consciousness. No? He also spoke of the different degrees of coverings of lust, thick, medium, and thin covering. So the human beings have the thinnest covering. We can easily overcome it if we follow the process correctly. See, if there is an experiment, no, and one is doing an experiment in the laboratory, if one does the experiment properly, one is sure to get the desired result. If you're not getting the result, it's because one is not doing the experiment properly. So the process is perfect. Bhakti Yoga, the process is perfect. Srila Prabhupada has given us the perfect process. And all we have to do is perform it or execute the experiment. If we execute the experiment, definitely we will get our desired result. If we are not getting desired result, if we are not developing the taste for chanting, if we are not able to overcome obstacles, somewhere, somehow, we are doing the experiment wrong. Somewhere we are committing some offenses. And so we have to keep a check on that. So like that, Krishna ended the note, ended saying that how lust covers knowledge. And therefore now title of chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge. This is the connection between chapter 3 and chapter number 4. Now, what is transcendental knowledge? Transcendental knowledge is that knowledge which will help us to go beyond the material world and attain the spiritual world. That is transcendental knowledge. The knowledge that we get in schools and colleges do not help us even realize who we are. Forget about going back to the spiritual world. We don't get this. We spend so many years of our life in schools and colleges, now 15, 20 years. Still, we do not get this basic knowledge of who are we, what is our identity, that we are spirit soul. So transcendental knowledge is that knowledge which will help us go beyond the material world and attain the spiritual world, which is the real knowledge, right? Because one may have several degrees to one's credit. One may be highly educated materially, but still when death occurs, all that is gone away, right? When we take birth again, then again we have to go back. If we get the human body, we have to go back to studying in the nursery school. So what is the use of that material knowledge? But transcendental knowledge we carry with us, even life after life after life. So this knowledge is of utmost importance. Material knowledge is like it teaches us how to live comfortably here in the material world, how to eat better, how to sleep better, how to get a better job, how to get a better salary. So what are we doing? We are eating better, we are sleeping better, we are mating better, we are defending better. That's all. It's like going from a third-class jail to a first-class jail. That's all. But transcendental knowledge teaches us how to get out of the jail, get out of this jail of material existence. So this is transcendental knowledge. This has 42 verses. But before we go into the shlokas, we need to understand the benefits of reading, reciting, learning this particular chapter. So this is from the Gita Mahatmya. The Gita Mahatmya is from the Padma Purana. Gita Mahatmya is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, and Lord Shiva is glorifying the Bhagavad Gita to Goddess Parvati. And he is quoting from a conversation between Lord Vishnu and Goddess Lakshmi. So the story goes, not story, but history. The history goes that there was a saint called Bharata. He lived in Kashi, and every day he would recite the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. One day he traveled to a place called Tapodan to take the darshan of a deity of Lord Krishna. On the way, he rested under 2 bale trees. And the way he rested was that he put his head on the roots of one tree and he put his feet to rest on the roots of another tree. So that way he was resting under these 2 trees. And after some time, he left the place. Now within a few days, I mean, shortly after that, the trees begin to dry up. And within 6 days, they completely dried up. So the trees had died. The soul that was in the tree body, it left the tree body. And now these 2 souls that were in the 2 tree bodies, they took birth as the daughters of a very pious Brahmana. Now, these 2 girls, when they were 7 years old, they went to Kashi for pilgrimage. And it so happened that they saw Bharata over there. And immediately they went and fell at his feet and they thanked him. So they told him that it's only because of you that we have got this birth in a Brahmin family. And previously we were in the body of bale trees. So then Bharat asked them that, what is this all about? I'm not aware of what you are speaking. How did you get the body of trees? And how come you were released from the body of trees because of me? What is it? So then the 2 girls, they reply to him and they say that previously we were the Apsaras. We were celestial damsels of Lord Indra in heaven. And Lord Indra had sent us to a sage called Satchatapa. So this particular sage actually was very, very powerful, and he was doing a lot of austerities. He would sit in the middle of fire during the summer, and during the winter he would be in the cold water. So he did a lot of tapasya, and he had become completely renounced, and he had completely become purified. He was such a pure sage now that even Lord Brahma would visit him and ask him questions about devotional service to Lord Krishna. But Indra was very concerned. Indra was very worried that this sage Satchatapa, because of his austerities, probably in the future he may be crowned or he may be appointed as the king of heaven. And my position is now at stake, is in danger. So he sends these 2 Apsaras to break the austerity of Satchatapa. He said that go and cause his fall down. So these 2 Apsaras, they went to where this sage was, and they started to dance in a provocative manner in front of this sage. And as they were dancing, the cloth slipped from their body. There was it slipped accidentally. But sage Satchatapa was angry, and then he cursed them to become trees. See, the karma, the karmic reaction, if one is very fond of displaying the body, and not clothe yourself appropriately, then you get the tree body in the next life. That is the karmic reaction, because the trees are in full public view without any clothes, standing there. So therefore, when one does not dress appropriately, then the karmic reaction is you get a tree body. So this sage cursed the Apsaras that may you be born as bale trees. But then these Apsaras explained to him that we are only the servants of Lord Indra, and whatever we did was under his instruction, and please forgive us. So then the sage became compassionate, and he told them that you will be in the tree body only until a devotee called Bharata will come and relieve you from the curse. So then these girls tell Bharat that this is how, when you came and you rested under the tree, you also chanted the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore because of your austerity, your mercy, we were released from the tree body, and we took birth in the Brahman family, and also with the mood of renunciation. So like this, when Bharat came to know of the past life of these 2 girls, he was very happy, and he went back to his ashram. Meanwhile, the girls also, these 2 girls, they chanted the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day, and they also attained Krishna Bhakti. So this is the Gita Mahatmya. So what is a Falashruti of this chapter is human birth in a Brahmana family with the consciousness of detachment. So to get a human birth is very essential for one to practice bhakti, isn't it? We have discussed the value of the human body. Now, to get a human birth in a Brahman family is an even more elevated thing, because from your childhood, then you're brought up in the Brahmanical environment where the rules and regulations and bhakti is followed. On the contrary, if we get a human birth, say in a meat eater's family, where there is no connection to bhakti, where they don't even know who is the Lord, or maybe in the family of an atheist, then it's not going to be so helpful. So getting a human birth in a Brahmin family is even more special. And with the consciousness of detachment, that is even more special. So there is no attachment also. So this is the Falashruti of reading, reciting, learning, chapter number 4. Human birth in a Brahmin family with the consciousness of detachment. So the whole setting is very perfect for one to go back home, back to Godhead. What is the connection with chapter 3? Arjuna asks, what impels one to commit sin? Krishna replies, it is lust. And how to conquer lust? By spiritual intelligence. Now, when we talk about spiritual intelligence, it is Krishna consciousness, because one has to be intelligent, spiritually intelligent, to be able to follow the path of Krishna consciousness. It requires intelligence, isn't it? One is not a fool to spend so many hours in a day reading, preaching, or chanting your rounds. No, devotees are not fools. We would not be investing so much time and effort and energy in bhakti yoga if we were not getting something out of it. So spiritual intelligence means Krishna consciousness or transcendental knowledge. So chapter 4 therefore is titled Transcendental Knowledge. It is divided into 5 sections. We will see them as we proceed. So section 1 is the first 10 verses where Krishna teaches and establishes dharma. What is religion? By dharma, one is protected from kama, from lust, and one can get elevated. Okay, who can read today?
Mataji, I don't mind reading.
Okay, thank you, Anjali. Let's hear the shloka first.
अथ चतुर्थोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच इमं विवस्वते योगं प्रोक्तवानहमव्ययम् विवस्वान्मनवे प्राह मनुरिक्ष्वाकवे ब्रवीत्.
Translation: The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in return instructed it to Ikshvaku.
Okay, so Krishna is talking about how this transcendental knowledge came. So Krishna is saying that actually Arjuna is not the first recipient of this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying that he had instructed this knowledge first of all to the sun god. And the sun god's name is Vivaswan. So from this, what do we understand? First of all, that the demigods are the administrators, and it is a post. It is a post. So somebody is appointed as Surya Dev, right? Surya Dev or sun god itself is a post, and a person who's qualified, he is appointed as the sun god. And therefore the sun god to whom Krishna instructed, his name is Vivaswan. So all these posts, like, all the demigods, all these administrators, Surya, Chandra, Indra, Lord Brahma, they are all posts, is the name of the post. And a person who's qualified is appointed in that post. And each post lasts a certain duration. For example, Lord Brahma lives for 100 years, but 100 of Brahma's years. We will see how much is that according to human calculation. But Brahma occupies his post as Brahma for 100 of his years. And then when his term ends, when Brahma finishes his 100 years, then there is destruction. There is complete destruction. And then the whole process is set rolling again. And a new person who's qualified is appointed on the post of Lord Brahma. So any one of us here can also qualify ourselves to take up the post of Lord Brahma. So what is the qualification that one requires to become Brahma? Is that you have to live 100 lifetimes perfectly following the Varnashram Dharma. So when you perfectly follow Varnashram Dharma, in other words, without committing any sin for 100 years, then you can be qualified to occupy the post of Lord Brahma. And very interestingly, Srimad Bhagavatam says that when we fall down, right, when we fall from the spiritual world, when we come to the material world, the first body that we receive is that of Lord Brahma. The first body that the living entity gets when the living entity falls from the spiritual world is that of Lord Brahma. So all of us have been Brahma once at least in our journey in this material world. Okay, so coming back to this particular shloka. So Krishna says that he instructed this imperishable science. So this science is imperishable. It is called as avyayam. This knowledge is not something that has an expiry date. Bhagavad Gita knowledge, as we discussed previously, is eternal. It's eternal. It stands the test of time. So Krishna is saying he instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan. And then Vivaswan instructed it to Manu. Manu is the first man. So therefore he's called as the father of mankind. He's the first man. That's why, and the word man comes from Manu. And in Hindi, Manushya. The word Manushya comes from Manu. And Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So not only has Krishna given this knowledge for our benefit, but he has also set up a parampara system. Knowledge is received through disciplic succession from the disciple to the guru. This knowledge is passed down, and when the disciple becomes the guru, then he passes down this knowledge. Nobody can be a self-proclaimed guru. That's not the Vedic system. Somebody says that I don't have a spiritual master, but the person is preaching, the person is he calls himself a god man, or he calls himself a guru, but he says that I have no guru because I don't need to read the shastra, I don't need a guru, but I'm a self-realized soul. Then the person is bogus. It's the biggest illusion that the person is in. This system, this knowledge has to be received in guru parampara, in disciplic succession. From the guru to the disciple, it is passed down. So therefore, when we receive knowledge, transcendental knowledge, we should receive it from somebody who's in a bona fide disciplic succession, not from a self-proclaimed God man. Unfortunately, there are several of such people in India and all over the world, especially India it has become the hub of such bogus people. See here. Krishna is giving it to the sun god. And the sun god gives it to Manu, and Manu gives it to Ikshvaku. So like that, this knowledge is received in disciplic succession. Now, Srila Prabhupada gives us this information, the purport, how to trace out the history of the Gita. So in the beginning of the Treta Yuga, so Treta Yuga is the second Yuga, right? We have Satya Yuga, then we have Treta Yuga, then Dwapara and Kali Yuga. So in the beginning of Treta Yuga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu. So when did the sun god give it to Manu? In the beginning of Treta Yuga. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son, Maharaj Ikshvaku, the king of earth planet. So Ikshvaku was the emperor of the entire planet. And he is also the forefather of the Raghu dynasty. Now, Lord Ramachandra actually appeared in this dynasty, Raghu dynasty. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ikshvaku. So what are the points here? This knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is imperishable. We already discussed. The sun god of this millennium is known as Vivaswan. So the sun god of this millennium is called as Vivaswan. Now what is 1 millennium? 1 millennium is 1 day in the life of Brahma. We will discuss it further. Okay, but 1 millennium is 1 day in the life of Brahma. Lord Krishna originally made Vivaswan his first disciple. So Arjuna is not the first disciple of Bhagavad Gita. It was actually Vivaswan, the sun god. It was re-spoken by the Lord to Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. So it's not that before Arjuna, this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita was not present. It was very much present. So the Bhagavad Gita was spoken thousands of years ago. Doesn't that make it outdated? So as we discussed, the Gita wisdom is beyond being dated and beyond becoming outdated. This is avyayam, eternal, imperishable. So one may ask, why did Krishna choose the sun god to give this knowledge? So the sun is also a Kshatriya and is the father of all Kshatriyas who are descendants of the sun god. So we have the Luna dynasty and the Solar dynasty, Chandravamsi and Chandravamsi and Suryavamsi. So like that, sun god is a Kshatriya and he's a father of all Kshatriyas. Now, why is it important to give the knowledge to a Kshatriya? So what if the sun god is a Kshatriya and the father of all the Kshatriyas? What's the significance?
It's like he was the eligible to protect the dharma.
Okay, but why should a Kshatriya have this knowledge? Is it important for Kshatriyas to have transcendental knowledge?
Not really.
Yes,
Why?
because they run the country, they run everybody.
Yes, because they are the leaders of the society. They are running the country. So therefore, the kings actually were Raja Rishis. If you see across the Shastra, the saintly kings are referred to as Raja Rishis. They are kings, but they are also saintly. So we have seen Raja Rishis, like we see Ambarish Maharaj. He was the king, but how he defeated Durvasa Muni on the strength of his devotional activities. Or we saw Janaka Maharaj. Krishna mentioned Janak Maharaj in chapter 3. So they are all Raja Rishis. They are saintly kings. So it's very important that Kshatriyas, or the ones who are ruling, the ones who are in the administration of the country, they are devotees. Only then the people can prosper. Actually, the general populace, they take a percentage of the karmic reaction of the king. If there is something wrong happening in the kingdom, like if there is famine, if there is a flood, or there is untimely death also, then immediately the populace will blame the king, because the king is doing something wrong, and therefore the general populace is suffering. There is actually exact percentage even in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I don't really remember the exact percentage, but there is a certain percentage that the general populace takes of the karmic reaction of the king. Even in the Ramayana, there is an incident where the son of a Brahmana, he died an untimely death. Previously, people would not die an untimely death unless they are killed in a war or they're killed of a snake bite. They would not die an untimely death, unlike now in Kali Yuga. So if there's an untimely death, then they would blame the king that, that you are not following the religious principles correctly. So in the Ramayana also, there is a time when a Brahmana's son died an untimely death, and then he came to Lord Ramachandra and he said that, this has happened and something is wrong. Something is not right in your kingdom, like that. Okay, so sun is the center of all planetary systems. The planets survive because of the heat and light from the sun. So therefore, Krishna chose the sun god to give this knowledge to him. Let's see what Krishna says next.
Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshyo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashtah parantapa.
Translation: This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost.
So say evam parampara praptam. So parampara praptam, this has to be received in parampara, in disciplic succession. This Krishna himself is saying this in the Bhagavad Gita. So this supreme science should be received in the disciplic succession. And he's using the word Raja Rishayo. So Raja Rishi, what we just spoke about, the saintly kings. So Krishna is saying that this science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But what happened now, in the course of time, the succession was broken. Somewhere, somehow, this knowledge, while it was being passed down, this succession was broken. This disciplic succession was broken. And therefore, the science as it is appears to be lost. Krishna doesn't say that the science is lost. He says it appears to be lost. So it doesn't mean that this knowledge was not or this knowledge was absent, because if something is eternal, then there never can be a time when it does not exist. That's what the word eternal means. Eternal means there would never be a time in the future, nor in the present, nor in the past, when this thing did not exist. So if the Gita knowledge is imperishable, how come it was lost? One may ask. It's not that it was lost, it's just that it became inaccessible. The knowledge was there, but over a period of time, it became inaccessible. So therefore, Krishna re-spoke it to Arjuna in order to bridge and make it accessible. So just as how children may play this telephone game. Now, one child gives a message to somebody else, and then the same message is passed down. And finally, the last person who says the word or the message may be completely different from the original message that was started off by the first child. So like this, when this knowledge was passed on in disciplic succession, somehow it was lost. So therefore, to re-establish that missing link, Krishna re-spoke it to Arjuna. Now one may ask, why Arjuna to connect this missing link? Why Arjuna? That Krishna answers in the next verse.
Sayavayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hyetaduttamam.
Translation: that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of the science.
So why is Krishna giving this knowledge to Arjuna? He says, because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Bhakta and Sakha, Krishna says. You are my Bhakta and you are my Sakha. You are my devotee as well as my friend. So if we want to understand this Bhagavad Gita in the correct way, then we have to also become devotees and we also have to become Krishna's friends. Now, what do we mean by friend? A friend is that person who is not envious of you, who is not envious of your progress. That is a friend. That is your real well-wisher. Now, you may have somebody who appears to be your friend, who hangs out with you on the weekends and who is accompanying you to all these social parties and events and restaurants, and y'all are hanging out together. But if you're progressing and this friend is envious of your progress, this friend is not happy with your progress, then he is not your friend. Your real friend, your real well-wisher is he who is happy with your progress. Just as how your parents are very happy when you progress. The parents are very happy when the child progresses. Why? Because the parents are the real well-wishers of the child. So like that, a friend is one who is not envious of you. So Arjuna is not envious of Krishna's position. We are all here in the material world because at some point we envied Krishna's position. So at some time we didn't want to serve God. We wanted to be served. We wanted to enjoy independently of Krishna. We didn't want to enjoy with him. So it's actually why we are here is because we were envious of the position of the Lord. We wanted to be like him. So one should be non-envious of God. One should accept that, yes, I am the servant, you are the master. So in order to understand this knowledge, we need to be devotees and also non-envious of Krishna. And this is the reason why Arjuna was chosen, because Arjuna was not envious of Krishna's position. And also he was his devotee. See, Krishna uses the word rahasyam. Rahasyam, therefore, because Arjuna is devotee and friend, he can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So Bhagavad Gita is actually a great mystery. Anyone can go to a bookshop and purchase a Bhagavad Gita for 200 or 250 rupees or whatever it may cost. And flip through the page. It's only 700 shlokas, just a small book. We have read several such books in our lifetime, schools, colleges, universities. We have read several more books. But Bhagavad Gita is a great mystery. Although we read it, we will not understand it unless we approach it in the right mood. Therefore, it's a great mystery. It's a great mystery. And another thing about Bhagavad Gita is the more you read it, the more you feel that there is something in this for me to learn. You may read every word of the Bhagavad Gita, every page, but every time you read the Bhagavad Gita, you will come across something that you feel, I never read this before. This was not here before. How come I didn't read this? This is the most amazing realization for anybody who reads the Bhagavad Gita scrutinizingly. Every time you read the Bhagavad Gita, you'll come across something that you feel, I did not read this line before. But actually it was there. So therefore, this Bhagavad Gita is a great transcendental mystery. See, Krishna is telling Arjuna that because you are my devotee and my friend, therefore I have given this knowledge to you. So Krishna is in no mood of giving or revealing this knowledge to those who are not his devotees or not his or those who are envious of him. Now, why is that so? It's not that Krishna doesn't want. Krishna wants everyone to go back home, back to Godhead. Even the most sinful person, Krishna wants him back. But Krishna's mood is like that of a loving father who's in a hospital undergoing treatment. And the father wants the child back at home, but not at the cost of the treatment of the child. So if one has one's child in the hospital and undergoing treatment because he has a disease, yes, the father wants him back, but the father wants him back after he has received the appropriate treatment in the hospital. Not that he wants to bring the sick child back home. So Krishna is also like that. We are all materially diseased. And unless we don't receive our appropriate treatment, then Krishna is in no mood to take us back. So Krishna's mood is like that of a loving father who has his diseased children in the hospital. So he wants them to get the proper treatment and then come back home, back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that trying to understand Bhagavad Gita with one's own mundane knowledge is like licking a bottle of honey from the outside. Only when one becomes a devotee of Lord Krishna, one can understand the Bhagavad Gita. So if we try to read the Bhagavad Gita like we read any other book, then we will not be able to enjoy the real nectar of the Bhagavad Gita. We may read it, and we may have or we may be perfectly able to recite the shlokas in Sanskrit, or one may become a great scholar and say that, oh, this verse number says this. But we may not really actually understand the knowledge unless we become devotees of the Lord. So that kind of approach to Bhagavad Gita is just like licking a bottle of honey from the outside. The real nectar we can taste only when that bottle is open and we can actually taste the real nectar. The real nectar of Bhagavad Gita can be tasted only when we become the devotees of the Lord. So ancientness of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains how this word, this is existent in the human society for 120 million and 400,000 years. In other words, it is eternal. So that doesn't mean that before 120 million years, this knowledge was not existing. Yes, it was existing because remember, it is eternal, but it was not existing in this form that we have it with us right now. It was the knowledge was there in some other form. See, in Satya Yuga, everybody was a transcendentalist. Everybody was a Paramahamsa. Because remember, in Satya Yuga, religious principles are followed to perfection. 100% of the population followed religiosity. We discussed this, no? How every yuga, the religiosity reduces. So in Satya Yuga, everybody was a Paramahamsa, topmost transcendentalist. What do we mean by Hamsa? First of all, let's try to understand that word Paramahamsa. Hamsa means what? What's a Hamsa in Sanskrit?
Soul.
Soul, not soul.
Swan.
Swan, yes, swan. So why is a transcendentalist compared to a swan? What's the special quality that a swan has?
Because swan
When
can.
you give milk and water, it just takes only the milk and it doesn't take the water.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
It
Very
can
nice.
separate.
Yes, it can
Right.
separate milk and water, isn't it? So they have a special beak where if you mix milk and water, they know how to only take the milk. So what does a transcendentalist do? He only sees the good qualities or the good in everything and everyone. He ignores the bad qualities or the bad in anything. So that's a transcendentalist. So the people in Satya Yuga are not only transcendentalists, they're not only Hamsas, but they are Paramahamsas. They are topmost transcendentalists. Okay. So this knowledge was there, but in a different form is what we are trying to say. But now it is in a different form because it existed in human society since Treta Yuga, as we saw previously. And in Kali Yuga, at the dawn of Kali Yuga or at the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna re-spoke it to Arjuna to re-establish the lost chain. So it's not a speculative treatise. It is a standard book of knowledge spoken by Raja Rishi. So it is not speculative. One cannot come and say that, no, actually, when Krishna said this, what he meant was something else. Some people say that actually the Mahabharata never happened. The Bhagavad Gita was never spoken. It's only it's all people's imagination, speculation. Is because the Brahmanas are biased, so they came up. So it's not a speculation. Okay, it is something that Krishna actually spoke, and it is the absolute truth. Because who can know what is dharma than God Himself? Who knows the book better than the author himself who has written the book? Spoken to Raja Rishi, they must know so that they can protect their subjects from the bondage of lust. So this also we have discussed. Leaders, administrative heads, teachers, parents must have this knowledge. Those who are leaders, even teachers, parents are leaders. Parents are leading their children. Teachers are leading their students. Administrative heads, they are leading the country. So in the current age, our politicians are far from having transcendental knowledge, unfortunately. They know politics, but they do not have transcendental knowledge. This knowledge is superhuman. Why it is superhuman? Because it is spoken by Krishna himself, and Krishna is not subject to the 4 defects of the living entity. What are the 4 defects of the living entity? We discussed in the introduction class. We have imperfect senses. Yes, we are illusion. Very nice. Then
commit mistakes.
We have the tendency to commit mistake.
Cheating propensities.
We have the tendency to cheat. Very nice. And
our senses are imperfect.
Our senses are imperfect. So all living entities are subject to these 4 defects. But Krishna is not subject to these 4 defects. No, he is not illusion. He doesn't cheat. He does not have the tendency to commit mistake. We cannot say, oh, Krishna actually made a mistake by saying this. No, he does not make mistakes. Nor is he here to cheat us, right? Nor does Krishna have imperfect senses. His senses are perfect. So therefore, this knowledge is superhuman. Now, when somebody gives us, Prabhupada said that even if the person who's giving you this knowledge, he may have imperfect senses, but the knowledge is perfect, right? The knowledge is perfect. It's just being passed down. A person who preaches, a person who teaches the Bhagavad Gita, it's his duty to pass on the knowledge without changing or altering the message. Don't change it to suit the one who's listening to you. Just because we want to please the person, we say, yes, it's okay. Once in a while, you can engage in some. It's okay. The doctor may say that, 1 peg of whiskey a day does not matter. It does not affect you. But that's not what Krishna says. So importance of parampara. Knowledge is handed down in parampara starting from Krishna. Krishna personally comes to set right whenever this chain is broken. So see, Krishna, he personally comes to set it right. Actually, he can send, he can send his agents. He can send somebody in order to set this knowledge right. But Krishna personally comes. See, that's because of his causeless mercy.
Heavy.
We must therefore stick to parampara. Otherwise, the knowledge will be lost, inaccessible due to delusion or deviation. So we have to stick to the parampara system. Always receive the knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master. Otherwise, this knowledge will be lost and it will become inaccessible due to delusion and deviation. So many people down the line, if you're not receiving this knowledge from a bona fide authority, they will deviate from what actually Krishna says, or they will dilute the message in order to suit the audience. See, when Srila Prabhupada went to the West, he did not compromise on the principles. Never did he say that it's okay to eat meat once in a while, it's okay. Because when he went to the West, he traveled right in the middle of this hippie movement in America. And there it was very normal for people to engage in illicit relationships out of marriage. If you would tell them not to eat meat and not to engage in illicit relationships, not to drink, people would think you're crazy, because for them it was a normal way of life. That was a very normal lifestyle. And many other spiritual leaders actually advised Prabhupada in the West that if you preach like this, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, no onion garlic, no tea, coffee, people will run away. So, you need to relax the rules a little bit. Otherwise, you will not get followers. But Prabhupada said, no, I will maintain the purity. Prabhupada That's the reason why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita is the largest selling Bhagavad Gita in the world. And that's the reason why this movement spread far and wide, because Prabhupada maintained the purity. Purity is the force. Purity is the force. Because Prabhupada maintained the purity, Krishna personally backed Prabhupada. It was not possible for, see, Prabhupada's achievements, Prabhupada's name is never mentioned amongst the greatest achievers of the world. Why? Because Prabhupada always preferred to remain in the background. He always put Krishna in the forefront. And but if you go to see, nobody has a greater success story than Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada created the spiritual revolution within a decade. He had more than 108 centers all over the world he established. He had thousands of devotees he made. So this is not possible unless Krishna personally backed him. And Prabhupada had nothing. He had no money. He had no followers. He had no contacts. He didn't have age by his side. He didn't have health by his side. He was 70 years old. So it was actually a miracle, which is not possible unless Krishna backs you personally. And how Krishna backed him is because Prabhupada maintained the purity. So if we maintain the purity, then purity is the force. Then we can become a force to reckon with. So purity is very, very important to maintain in our life, in our habits, in our preaching, in our teachings. Mundane scholars do not accept Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead, yet they make good business of the works of Krishna. So they don't want to accept Krishna as God, but still they can make money, because, you know, there are people who say, oh, we will come and recite, or we will, they have this Bhagavad Sapta, which they do. They will charge 1 lakh rupees or 3 lakh rupees for 1 week of Bhagavad Sapta. So they make very good money out of the works of Krishna, but they do not accept Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. So these are mundane scholars. Eligibility to receive this knowledge. One has to be devotee and friend, non-envious. We have already discussed this. Even the spiritual master will reveal only when there is service attitude and respect. So it's very important to have this service attitude. Don't walk into a temple, don't walk into a program, don't walk into thinking that I should be served. That's not the attitude, that I should be served. I am not the master. One should think that I am the servant. So one should be willing to, ready to give service. Don't be wanting to always take service. Give service. So Guru also will reveal only when there is a nice service attitude. This service attitude is the password. Even if one has a computer full of priceless data, one cannot access it without a password. So what is a password? Is the service attitude. It is Uttamam Rahasyam. It's very, very secret. It's a great secret wisdom. So how to access it is by the correct service attitude. Now one may ask, or one may wonder, that now why is Krishna talking about when he gave this knowledge, to whom he gave this knowledge? Because the previous chapter ended on how to conquer lust. And suddenly now Krishna is talking about whom he gave this knowledge to. So what is the connection between these two things? Is it that why has Krishna changed the subject matter? Why this abrupt change of subject matter? Why shift from a subtle analysis of the inner world, which is lust, to a historical narrative about the outer world? Because he's talking about the history. When was this knowledge passed down to whom, and then how it continued, right? So what is the connection between the two? Why has Krishna abruptly changed the subject matter, one may wonder. So actually Krishna is not changing the subject. He is expanding our understanding on the subject matter. The inner enemy of lust has been tormenting humanity since time immemorial. And Krishna has been equipping humanity to combat it since time immemorial. So Krishna is saying that in order to fight this enemy of lust, you need knowledge. And this knowledge has been coming from several millions of years. And this enemy of lust also, human beings have had to combat it from millions of years. So as an illustration of the system of providing spiritual knowledge, Krishna explains how he taught it personally to a key leader in the universe's genealogy. And he instituted a system of parampara composed of saintly kings who helped disseminate spiritual knowledge throughout human society. So this is why Krishna is talking about when he spoke this, to whom he spoke this, and how it is coming down. Why? Because it's from time immemorial that human beings are trying to combat this enemy called lust. And Krishna concludes his brief outline with an assurance. Because that knowledge was lost over time, he is personally providing it to Arjuna. So this is Krishna's assurance. So what is the connecting link between these two? Knowledge of how to act dutifully and conquer lust is provided to humanity by the Lord since time immemorial. So therefore, these two subject matters are not different. I mean, there is no abrupt change of topic by Krishna. In fighting lust, we are neither alone nor unequipped. How we are not alone? We always have the Lord guiding us internally as the Paramatma and externally in the form of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is an external manifestation of the super soul. The spiritual master represents the super soul. The super soul is guiding us from within. The spiritual master is guiding us from outside. So the spiritual master actually is a representation of Lord Sri Krishna. So we are not alone, nor are we unequipped. We have the equipment. We have this knowledge. Krishna has given us this knowledge. He has given us the formula. He has given us the experiment that we need to carry out. We humans have always had to fight it, and Krishna has always been equipping us with spiritual knowledge. So if this knowledge is lost, then Krishna personally comes to restore it, just as how he personally came to restore this knowledge to Arjuna. So if one is prepared to accept his mercy unlimitedly, then he is prepared to give it unlimitedly. So the Lord's mercy is always there for us. We have to be prepared to accept it. The sun is shining for everyone. We have to be prepared to walk out of our room and go and take the sunlight. The rain, when the rain falls, the rain is falling on the riverbed or on the mountain or on land equally. The rain is not saying that I will fall only on the ocean, or I will fall only on the trees, or I will fall only. The rain is falling equally for everyone, isn't it? But if in my land I have sowed bitter melon seeds, when the rain comes, what will I get out of that bitter melon? I will get the bitter melon tree and fruit only, right? And if my neighbor has sowed the seeds of a mango, he's going to get nice mango fruit, very sweet mango fruit, right? He can enjoy that. So I cannot complain that why I am getting bitter melon and why my neighbor has got mango, because I have sowed the seeds of bitter melon. Therefore, I'm getting the seeds of the bitter melon. So as you sow, so shall you reap.
Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha kathametad vijaniyam tvamadau proktavaniti.
Translation. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him?
So now Arjuna has a doubt. He's like, Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. The sun is there from so many millions of years. But Krishna, you are standing right in front of me, right? Krishna on the battlefield, so to speak, was 125 years old approximately. So Arjuna is thinking, well, Krishna, you are here. You are not so seen like the sun god. Sun god has appeared so many millions of years ago, but you have appeared here only recently. So how is it that you have instructed this science to the sun god? How is that possible? Now, what is very important to note here is the way Arjuna is asking his question. Now, Arjuna does not understand. How is it possible that Krishna has instructed this to the sun god? So how does Arjuna pose his question? He says, how am I to understand? How am I to understand? So this is the way we have to ask questions to our seniors. How to understand? We don't have to blindly accept. We always have the right to ask questions, right? But how we are going to ask that question, that we can learn from Arjuna. Arjuna is not blaming Krishna. Arjuna is not telling Krishna, what you are saying is impossible because you are just 125 years old. The sun god is millions of years old. So it's impossible. What you're saying is impossible. I do not believe you, or I cannot accept it. Arjuna is not blaming Krishna, right? He is blaming it on himself. He is blaming it on his own understanding. He is saying, I am not able to understand. So how am I to understand, oh Krishna, that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? This is how we have to pose questions to our seniors, to our guru, or anybody who's, to a senior devotee, anybody who's instructing us. This is how we have to ask, how to understand this. See, when we hear something that is difficult to understand, right? There are two things that one usually does. One will either accept it or reject it. Now, acceptance despite not understanding is blind acceptance. And rejecting despite not understanding is, again, blindly rejecting it without analyzing it properly. So both extremes are bad, right? So therefore, we have to try to understand by inquiring submissively from the superiors. See, the manner in which Arjuna phrases his question is very significant. How am I to understand this? This way of questioning reflects a healthy blend of humility and curiosity. So Arjuna is curious. How is that? How is it? And of course, he's also humble because he's blaming it on himself, blaming it that he does not understand. So healthy blend of humility and curiosity. Humility because Arjuna is not dismissing Krishna's statement as impossible and is placing the onus for incomprehension on himself, not on Krishna. Simultaneously, he is not blindly accepting a point that is questionable. Therefore, he has submitted himself to Krishna. Though he has submitted himself to Krishna, because remember in 2.7, Krishna after 2.7 only Krishna accepted Arjuna as his disciple, because Arjuna surrendered to Krishna in 2.7. He said, I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So although Arjuna has surrendered himself to Krishna, that doesn't mean he just gives up his intelligence. He still asks a critical question without being disrespectful. So a disciple always has the right to ask questions. Don't accept anything blindly. Nobody wants you to accept anything blindly. Yes, you ask the relevant questions, ask the important questions, but how you ask it with humility. And this we learn from Arjuna. So how to deal with things that we do not understand? Either we thoughtlessly accept, so blind adherence, or we rashly reject, blind defiance. But Arjuna's blend of humility towards the teacher and curiosity towards the teaching, this is what we have to do when we hear something that we do not understand. Use your intelligence to find a trustworthy authority. So first of all, you have to find a trustworthy authority. You don't want to approach a nonsense person, right? You don't want to approach somebody who's not bona fide. So first of all, use the intelligence to find a trustworthy authority and then understand that authority's message. See some examples here. If we go to a class and we are hearing Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead, so one may ask, how can you say that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead? On the other side, one may say, Maharaj, how can we understand what you are saying, that Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead? Now, the question is the same, right? But which sounds correct, the first or the second one?
The one that it says, how can we understand?
Yes, the second one. How can we understand? So this is how we have to phrase the questions. Now, we should not ask questions to garner attention. For example, if somebody is in a class and every time you'll see someone purposely raising the hands, purposely asking questions, and just because they want everybody to see them, they want the spotlight to be on them. So sometimes questions are asked to only garner attention. Questions asked out of arrogance. For example, one may ask, when was the last time you committed a mistake? Or do you think you're lacking a particular skill? Don't you think you're lacking a skill? So these are questions asked out of arrogance. These are not genuine questions. Questions asked to show off their knowledge, to impress. So somebody wants to show off that they are very knowledgeable. Somebody say, oh, this particular canto, this particular chapter, and this particular chapter, this particular shloka, Krishna actually says this. And then in reply to that, Vidura said this. And then Krishna said this. Okay, but what is the question, right? So sometimes questions are asked only to show off the knowledge. And then ingenuine questions that are not necessary, questions that are not needed, questions that are, for example, what was the color of Bhima's dhoti when he killed Jarasandha? What kind of a question is that? So ingenuine questions also should be avoided. Questions asked with a taunting attitude. You're not having a genuine question, but you just want to taunt the speaker. You just want to put the speaker down. For example, let's say we know. See, the thing is when one becomes a Vaishnava, then it's not correct to speak about the past of a Vaishnava, because previously one may have committed grossly sinful activities, but once when surrenders to Krishna, then we should not talk about the past of the person, because currently now he's fully surrendered. Now he's a pure devotee. So Krishna has accepted him. He has been accepted by the Guru. So why we should not taunt the person. So somebody may taunt that, oh, so you were an avid meat eater before you came to Krishna consciousness. No, we should not pose questions with a taunting attitude. Say in our history, there is a story of Bilva Mangala Thakur. Bilva Mangala Thakur was a great sage. He composed great poetry and he was a great Vaishnava. But before he became a devotee, before he surrendered to Krishna, he had some habits, right? We say the story in order to inspire others. But if you're talking to a Vaishnava who has now dedicated his life to the service of Krishna, and you know something about the person's past, then we should not ask questions about, to taunt him. We may ask like, how easy was it for you to surrender to Guru? So what inspired you to surrender to Prabhupada? Like that, but don't ask with a taunting attitude. So these kind of questions should be avoided. So perfect example of submissive inquiry by Arjuna. And this inquiry by Arjuna also allows Krishna to speak about his position, which he's going to speak now. Krishna is going to talk about his position now. Because Arjuna is asking, how is it possible that you spoke to, how am I to understand that you gave this knowledge to the sun god who is millions of years old? So therefore now Krishna has to speak about his own position. So when you make an inquiry like that, such questions are glorious, because by such questions, you are removing the doubts of others also. Arjuna, by asking this question, has allowed Krishna to speak about his position, and it clears his doubts for all of humanity. Let's see Krishna's answer.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani Janmani tava charjuna Tanyaham veda sarvani Natvam vedha param tava.
Translation. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy.
So Krishna is saying that many, many births, both you and I have passed. Okay, the difference is Krishna can remember all of them, but Arjuna cannot remember. We just discussed this in the previous class. Now, how when death occurs and we take another body, the past memory is erased. We do not remember our past lifetime. But that's the difference between Krishna and us. That's the difference between the Lord and the Jiva, the living entities. The Lord can remember all his births, but we cannot remember our past births. Why? Because our bodies are material. The Lord's body is spiritual. So memory is erased with the changing of bodies. So we are the soul, we are the spirit soul. The soul has a subtle body covering and we have a gross body covering, what we discussed in the previous class. Now what happens at death? At death, the gross body is disposed, right? The gross body is either buried or burned or given to the animals to be eaten, to the wild birds to be eaten, depending on what faith one is in. But the soul, along with a subtle body, acquires another gross body, maybe human being, maybe animal, maybe bird, maybe tree. But if the soul has to enter the spiritual world, here the soul is entering the spiritual world. You can see here, when the soul enters the spiritual world, then Even the subtle body is completely dissolved. Only the soul enters. So the soul is completely spiritual, and so is the Lord. See, when we come to the material world, we acquire a gross body. We get this subtle and gross body, which are material. But when Krishna descends, when Krishna comes, Krishna's body is still completely spiritual. One should not think that Krishna has a material body that deteriorates. Krishna's body, even when he's in the material world, is still completely spiritual. That's why Krishna can remember his past appearances. But we cannot remember because our bodies are material. But Krishna's body is spiritual. He comes in the same body in which he is existing in Goloka. That same body he has. Even though it may appear that he's in the body of a baby, right? A couple of months old he was when he killed Putana. That doesn't mean that he is the baby only. He is still the supreme personality of Godhead. His body is still completely spiritual. So because his body is spiritual and our bodies are material, we forget the past life, but the Lord does not forget. Our bodies, I mean, when death occurs, we go through complete amnesia. We completely forget. But even when we are in this body also, we forget so many things. Yes, we don't perfectly remember everything that is going on. Even when we are in this body, we may not even remember. If somebody was to ask me, what did you eat for lunch yesterday? It will take me some time to think and I may or may not recall, right? We don't even, sometimes we enter into a room to get something. And the moment we enter the room, we forgot. What did we come into the room for? We cannot even remember that much. Sometimes we open the fridge to take out something, but we forget. What is it that I wanted to take out from the fridge, right? Somebody may tell us, we may ask, what's your name? The person will tell us his name. But the next minute, we forget the name of that person. So our memories are failing. Even in this body itself, we do not remember so many things, right? We may have great gadgets with so many memories, GBs and TBs of memories, but then we forget the password only. So how to access all that memory on our laptop? So memory is failing even when we are in this body. But when death occurs, then there is complete erasure. And the memory is completely wiped out. So there is a question here in the chat. Mampi writes, then Mataji, if Krishna's body is spiritual, then how and why he passed away from this material world? I am confused in it. So yes, when Krishna, we say Krishna disappears. Just as how the sun appears, the sun disappears, right? Like that, the Lord appears and the Lord disappears. Krishna does not die. What happened there with the hunter shooting the arrow and the arrow piercing Krishna's toe is only a leela. It's only a leela. If you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will see that it was time for Krishna to depart and Krishna decided to leave the planet, right? The war had ended and Krishna decided to leave the planet. And therefore, this was a leela, a pastime by which Krishna decided to depart. So Krishna does not die. He only disappears. Does that answer your question, Mampi?
Yes, Mataji, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next.
Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanamishvaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavamyatmamayaya.
Translation. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form.
See, just what we discussed, no? Krishna appears in his original transcendental form. He comes in that original form, right? Krishna still comes. He is even on the material world, he is still, his body is still completely spiritual. See, many important points here. Krishna says that I am unborn, Ajo. So it's not that Krishna is born, he is unborn. See, if we say that so-and-so was born, that may on such a date, which means that person did not exist before, isn't it? But Krishna is eternal. There never was a time when Krishna did not exist. And nor will there ever be a time in the future when Krishna will not exist. So Krishna says that I am Ajo, Aja, he is unborn. Then he says that he is avyayatma. He is avyaya, without deterioration. Krishna's body does not deteriorate. It does not grow old like our bodies, our material bodies. He does not get gray hair. He does not get wrinkles. His eyesight does not fail. He doesn't have to wear reading glasses, right? He is not so his body is not deteriorating like our body. Even on the battlefield, Krishna was 125 years old. I mean, he was there on the planet for 125 years, but still Krishna appeared youthful. You will never see a photo of Krishna where he is an old man with a walking stick and his voice is failing. He has his back is bent. No, you'll never see a photo of Krishna like that. And Krishna eternally lives in Goloka as a 16-year-old boy. So Krishna eternally lives. He's youthful. He's eternal. His body never deteriorates. So Krishna is saying that he's Avyaya. And then he says that he is the Lord of all living entities. Bhutanam Ishvaro. He's the Ishvara. He's the Lord of all the living entities, of all the Bhutas. So Bhutanam Ishvaro. He's the Lord of all living entities. So all living entities means all living entities, irrespective of whether someone accepts Krishna or does not accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Krishna says that he is the Lord of all living entities. Now Krishna says, when does he appear? He says he appears in every millennium. So once in the day of Brahma, Krishna appears. Once in the day of Brahma, Krishna appears. And how does he appear? He appears in his original transcendental form. He appears in his, so he says here, Prakritim Swam. He comes in his own Prakriti, in his own transcendental form. Krishna is appearing. He does not get a gross body like us. Then he says, Atma Mayaya. Atma Mayaya means by my internal energy. Krishna appears by his internal energy. What does that mean? That means that Krishna appears because he wants to appear. We do not appear like that. We appear because we are under the law of karma. According to what we did, what we deserve, and what we desire, we get the next body. If our desire, as we discussed, if somebody is not dressed up appropriately and loves to expose the body, then the person gets the body of a tree, because that's what he desired and that's what he also deserves because of the karma. But Krishna does not come under the law of karma. He appears because he wants to appear. Krishna can choose his parents. He can choose from the womb of whom he wants to appear. But we cannot choose our parents, right? Krishna can choose where he wants to appear. We cannot choose where we are going to take birth, whether we are going to take birth in America or India or in a slum. We don't know, right? So therefore, Krishna's birth, he comes, he chooses where, how, when he wants to appear, unlike us. So these are the points we have already discussed. Now, what is this millennium? One day of Brahma. Let's discuss that. Now, we know that there are 4 yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Current age is the age of Kali. Now, the duration of Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. How many years have we crossed so far?
5,000 something.
Yeah, only 5,000 years, right? 5,000 years approx we have crossed. So we still have a long way to go before Kali Yuga ends. Now, double the duration of Kali Yuga is Dwapar Yuga. So 432 multiplied by 2 will give you 864. Now 3 times Kali Yuga is the duration of Treta Yuga, and 4 times Kali Yuga is the duration of Satya Yuga. Now all these 4 yugas put together is one Divya Yuga. So that comes to 4,332,000 years. Now 1 day of Brahma is 1,000 Divya Yugas. That is 12 hours in the life of Brahma, 12 hours. And 1 night of Brahma is the same duration. So 2,000 Divya Yugas make a 24-hour period in the life of Brahma. And Brahma lives for 100 such years. So what is the lifespan of Brahma? 4,320,000, which is the 4 yugas put together, right? That makes 12 hours. I'm sorry, 4 yugas put together makes 1 Divya Yuga, and 1,000 Divya Yugas. So 1,000 multiplied by 4,320,000 make 12 hours in the life of Brahma. Multiplied by 2 because the night is also of the same duration. Into 30 because 30 days in a month Vedic calculation is 30 days in a month. We adjust the extra days by the Purushottam month, right? We don't have months with 31 days and 30 days and then 28 days and 1 leap year. That's not the Vedic calculation. Vedic calculation, 30 days in a month. So into 30, multiplied by 12 because 12 months in a year. Multiplied by 100 because Brahma lives for 100 years. So with this, you will get the duration of Brahma's life, which is 311 trillion 40 billion years. So when 311 trillion and 40 billion years come to an end, then another person who is qualified for the post can be appointed or will be appointed as Brahma.
What happens to the original Brahma who is already appointed and his life is over? And then what happens to his life?
So if Brahma, the original Brahma, has performed or engaged in devotional service, he can be promoted to the spiritual world, or otherwise again he has to come back again to the cycle of birth and death. That depends on whether he has engaged in devotional services. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So Krishna comes once in the day of Brahma. So he comes once in 4,320,000 into 1,000 into 2. So once in this many years, Krishna appears on this planet. Now we are very fortunate that we are in the same cycle in which Krishna appeared. Krishna appeared just 5,000 years ago. We have discussed this previously. We are in the same cycle in which Krishna has appeared. So we have not, if you go to see this calculation, then we can realize that we didn't miss Krishna by much. He was very much in this very Divya Yuga cycle in which we have appeared. We are here now in this Kali Yuga, and in this Treta, just the previous age, in this particular cycle of Divya Yuga, only Krishna was on this planet. Krishna was on this planet. And every time Krishna appears, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears in Kali Yuga. The appearance of Krishna is followed by the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga. So we are in the same cycle where Krishna appeared, and also in the same cycle when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on this planet just 500 years ago. Just 500 years ago. So we are very, very fortunate. So this is the same thing that I explained in the previous slide. You can go through it to refresh your memories. Now, in one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus. We discussed Manu, no? When Krishna said that he gave the knowledge to the sun god and the sun god gave it to Manu. Now, Manu, there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. And every Manu lives for 71 Divya Yugas. So, because there are 14 Manus, you divide 1,000 divided by 14 will give you 71 Divya Yugas. So every Manu lives for 71 Divya Yugas. That's the duration of Manu. So when does Krishna appear? Krishna personally appears as Krishna himself. When we are talking about Krishna himself, in every day of Brahma, in the 7th Manu. So out of the 14 Manus, when the 7th Manu is there, right? In the 7th Manu, and in that, now remember, every Manu has 71 Divya Yugas, right? 71 cycles of the 4 Yugas into 1,000. So in that 7th Manu's 28th Divya Yuga. Now in one Divya Yuga, there are 4 Yugas. So in that Divya Yuga, he comes at the end of Dwapara Yuga. This is when Krishna descends personally as Krishna himself. Once in the day of Brahma, in the 7th Manu's 28th Divya Yuga, at the end of Dwapara Yuga of that particular Divya Yuga. So this is when Krishna descends. So what is the difference between Krishna and the living entity? Krishna is infallible, we are fallible. Krishna comes in the same form, but we are constantly changing our bodies, right? We may be in the body of a human being, animal, pig, hog, dog, cat, rat. So we are changing forms. Krishna appears, but we are forced to take birth according to what we deserve and what we desire. Krishna never forgets, but we forget our past life. For Krishna, everything is spiritual, not just his body, but everything about Krishna is spiritual, but our body is material. Laws of karma do not apply to Krishna because he is the one who makes the laws, but we are subject to the laws of karma. So analogy of the sun's appearance and disappearance. Just as how the sun appears and disappears, the Lord appears and disappears. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
So can I ask you a question, Mataji? You mentioned something about one analogy you showed that those who make money out of Krishna, something like that you said.
Yes.
So those students or those followers of Krishna also sometimes do that. So does that mean like they're not are they devotees of Krishna then?
No, when you make money, it
Yes,
depends on
yes.
what is your intention. If you're giving part of your income in the service of the Lord,
Yes.
because see, we have to also maintain, right? The devotees also have to maintain themselves. How are we going to maintain our families? How are we going to maintain those who are dependent on us? How are we going to? So devotees may charge for a class, devotees may charge. That doesn't mean that they are not devotees. It depends on what is your intention. But if your intention is only I want to make money, but there is no service attitude, then you will not understand the Bhagavad Gita and the right spirit is what Prabhupada, actually that line is by Prabhupada in the pulpit. He writes that.
Okay.
So you will not understand the Gita and the right spirit. And
Okay.
even if we listen from such professionals who are only reciting for the sake of money, then we will not be able to understand because we're not hearing from the right source. So it's important to hear from the right source. Shravanam always very important to hear from the right source. For example, there are many bhajan singers, right? Singers who sing bhajans, but they are singing only as playback singers because they want to make money out of it. Their voice suits bhajans. But we should try to hear bhajans from a devotee, not from a professional playback singer.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, one more question, please.
Yes.
In slide 4.2, you saw Guru Parampara.
Yes.
How this Guru Parampara exists from Krishna to, for example, Krishna to Balaram, Balaram to Narad Muni, and after that, you connect with the Guru like Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So how you connect with Bhakti Vinod Thakur with the Narad Muni?
How to connect Bhakti Vinod Thakur to Narad Muni? Wait, let's go to the Veda base.
I saw the slide, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, it's in the slide, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to the slide. 1 second. Between Narad Muni and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, there are others in between.
Okay.
Okay, let me
Because
share the screen 1 second.
actually, just I want to know the connection of the Guru who is in the material world and the demigod or God who is in the spiritual world, how they connected.
How they connected? It's a whole thing now. Previously, it was. Okay, wait. I will show you on the Veda base. Oh, it's not here. We have the whole parampara here. See here. Krishna gave it to Brahma, Brahma gave it to Narada, Narada gave it to Vyasadeva.
Yeah.
So like that, then there are other acharyas in the disciplic succession. So Narada is a spaceman. No, he can go to the spiritual world and he can also come to the material world. He can go anywhere in the universe. So Vyasadeva was on this. Narada received it from his father Brahma, and then from there it has come down to Vyasadeva on this planet, and then like that it has come down. And then we have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at 22.
Yeah.
Then Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, right? The 6 Goswamis. And then at 31, we have Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. We have Bhakti Vinod Thakur at 29. Then Gaurakishora Das Babaji at 30. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then Srila Prabhupada at 32.
So, yeah. So I can see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was the connection between the material world and the spiritual world, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, you cannot say that. You can say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the spiritual master, even though externally he appears to be in the material world, it's not necessary that he is not spiritually connected. He is not in the spiritual world. That because one may be geographically situated in the material world, but still he will be spiritually situated because he is a self-realized transcendental soul.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
One more question, Mataji.
Yes.
Can you show me the slide of Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga? Actually, I want to understand from Satya Yuga to come to Treta Yuga, why you do subtract the Kali Yuga lifetime?
Okay, let me
It
go.
should be half. It should be half or maybe third. From down to up, I understand.
Let me go to the slide 1 second. Here.
This, yeah. So from Satya Yuga to come to Treta Yuga, you reduce for the Kali Yuga lifetime. Each and every time you reduce the Kali Yuga lifetime, you know?
No, it is not subtraction. It is same. From Kali to Dwapara to Treta is multiplication, no?
Yeah, but it first came Satya Yuga, then Treta Yuga, then Dwapara Yuga. So
Yeah.
what is the importance of Kali Yuga to come from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga, reduce the time of Kali Yuga? You got
No,
my point.
no, but if you reduce Kali Yuga from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga, you don't get the answer. No, you'll not, like 1.728 minus 432, you'll not get 1296. Or you get it. You
I
will
think
not-
so.
Acha?
So,
Yeah,
yes.
it's correct.
Oh, yes, you're getting it. Yes, yes. Okay.
So what is the importance on Satya Yuga to come to Treta Yuga, that you're reducing time of Kali Yuga, or vice versa, you know, Treta Yuga to come to Dwapar Yuga. Dwapar Yuga to Kali Yuga, it's okay. It is like half 50% of this lifetime.
Oh, you want to know why only 432 should be deducted from Satya Yuga to come to Treta Yuga?
Yeah, because it is a lifetime of Kali Yuga. That's
Okay,
why I wanted to know.
Okay, so I don't think this explanation is there anywhere in the Veda base. I don't think Prabhupada has explained that anywhere. So I'm not aware of the answer for that. What is the why? Why only 432 should be subtracted from
Yeah.
Satya to come to Treta? Oh, that I don't know. I have never read it. So I don't have the answer to your question.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Maybe you can ask Prabhu Nirantara.
Yeah, I'll ask him, or
Yes.
I'll search first.
And when you have the answer, you please share with all of us. Okay.
Yeah, thank you,
Very
Mataji.
interesting to know. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, what else? Anything else we need to discuss? Okay, so for those who have not seen,
Mataji,
yes. Bhumika.
yeah, because 4,32,000 divided by 4 is 108, 108,000. Maybe
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah,
Because
so
they
there
do
can be
yoga.
many reasons. See, there can be reasons, but unless it is not directly in the Shastra, we may say some things, maybe this, maybe that, then we are only speculating and we are not allowed to speculate. So we have to carry the message as it is, right? So if we say maybe like this, maybe like that, then again we are speculating. So we are not supposed to do that. We are not supposed to speculate. Possibilities are there, but unless the answer is coming from Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, then we cannot accept it as the correct answer. So we have to inquire actually. This is one question that Ranjit, it's homework for you, okay?
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
Okay. What else? Okay, so for those who have not seen the message in the group, we have extended the deadline for submission of chapter 3 because many of you told me that you all are very busy with Ganpati and other festivals. So we have extended the time and there were very few submissions also. So now please take the time to answer them. Very soon we will be uploading even chapter 4. It's getting ready. Disha is already working on it. She's almost completed it. So please answer the exams for your own benefit. Anything else we need to discuss? Okay.
It's October 8. Submission is October 8 or October 2?
No, it's not this. It's not 2nd October. It's 8th. Was it 8th or 9th?
I believe it was 8, right?
Let me check. 9th.
9th.
9th
Okay.
October. 9th
Thank
October.
you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, then have a nice week in Krishna consciousness. Until then, Vancha kalpataru kripa Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Mataji ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.